Hey guys, what's up? It's munclesonkey, and today I'm going to be going over the new potions that came out with Elf City, admittedly a couple weeks ago, but there's still a lot of confusion over what all the potions that there are, if they're any good or not, how do you make them, all this sort of stuff. So first of all, you need crystal flasks before you can make the potions. You can either go to the area which I just showed, and it does require 81 mining, and additionally, once per day you can mine both of these rocks. It resets at 12 p.m. British time, so midnight for British time, and then you can also go down into the 115 Edamu dungeon resource, and there's another rock there for 81 mining, and you can go ahead and go for that one too if you would like, but you can also just buy the crystal flasks off the GE. This is just an extra way to make a little bit of money and get some additional flasks per day. Once you have your flasks, you need to go to this place, which is buy the first rock that I showed you and make them into glass, and then you can actually craft the flasks themselves. This requires level 89 crafting. However, if you don't quite have that yet, but you do have access to the Elf City, so you can craft these, you can just stock up on the rocks every single day and then hold off to craft them. So that's another alternative, and it is some decent crafting XP considering the fact that it's completely free. 180 XP per flask is not bad at all. In addition to needing the crystal flasks to make a lot of these new potions, 9 out of the new potions, not all of them, but a full 9 of them, do require a recipe to be found as well. The best way to find these is by doing dungeoneering. You have a 1 in 320 chance to spawn a recipe when opening a room at 120 DG. This chance does scale down with your dungeoneering level, so if you have a lower dungeoneering level, you're going to have a slightly rarer chance to find a recipe. However, there are quite a few good potions that you don't even need recipes at all to discover, so just keep that in mind. It's only for some of them that you need them, and you can be okay even if you get unlucky with the recipes and don't unlock some of them or don't unlock all of them. This is also a completionist cape requirement to unlock all of the recipes, so you will have to be doing some dungeoneering eventually if you are planning on getting that completionist cape, so just keep that in mind. So you might want to have this as a goal that you eventually want to unlock, and you get some cool potions for it as well. On top of being able to do dungeoneering for potion recipes, you also have a small chance of pulling a recipe out of the Motherlode Maw, which is again the 115 dungeoneering requirement resource dungeon. You can just go down here, and once per day you can exchange 10 Motherlode shards for a chance to reach inside Motherlode Maw, and you can get a recipe for doing that. And finally, I promise you this is the last step that it takes before you can make the elf potions. Whether you have unlocked a recipe or not to make a potion, or whether or not it even requires you to unlock a recipe, you do have to go to the meleeer area of the Elf City, and you have to open up your recipe shop on the Pillar Farmer, or there is also a herblore shop just to the north where you can do this as well. You can view all the potions that you have unlocked the ability to make, and they do cost some GP in order to do that. Most of them aren't that expensive. The most expensive it gets is up to about $1 mil to make some of the overloads, but in the long run, if you're making lots and lots of them, it is definitely worth it. You're going to get back your money's worth in value out of all the use you will get out of these potions. It's finally time to start going over what the new potions are, what they do, and I'll also be telling you guys some useful spots where you can use them, or even if you want to just stay away from making this particular potion. First of all, we have the Grand Combat Potions, which are kind of like a mini extreme potion, but don't require as high of a herblore level in order to make them. They boost your combat level by 14% plus 2. You make these by mixing together a regular super potion and a regular normal potion. So if you were to make a Grand Attack Potion, it would be a super attack and a normal attack potion, and together into one of these crystal flasks. Requires 78 herblore to make. So I guess it's okay for people who don't quite have the herblore level in order to make extremes, and you're not really losing much in terms of the boost. They're only slightly worse than extremes. The first rather interesting potion we come across is the Super Melee Potion. This boosts all of your melee stats by 12% plus 2, requires one of each Super Melee Potion, so Super Attack, Super Strength, and Super Defense, even though technically Super Defense isn't only for melee, but whatever. And these are also tradable, so you can buy them. In order to make them, however, you do have to find a recipe first, so you're going to have to be able to do some dungeoneering for them. The main use I can see for this potion is it's kind of like a mini overload for melee users, so it's like a Super Zamorak brew, but it doesn't lower your defense or HP, so this can prove useful. Also, it's tradable, so you can buy them and use them for Slayer if you have lower herblore levels. The next potion up is just an immediate upgrade over the super melee potion. This is the super WARMASTER. You also have to find the recipe for this one within Dungeoneering. Boosts all your combat stats, including magic or range, by the same amount that the super potions do. Requires 1 of each super potion to make and 85 herb lore. So this one I guess would be useful for the people. Again, it is tradable, so you can just buy these things off the GE and use them. Very useful for people who don't quite have the herb lore level or don't have the cash, I suppose, to make overloads yet, and you don't have as much of a boost as overloads, of course, but it has the same effect as an overload in the terms that it boosts all of your stats. So this one could come in very, very handy if you were somewhere where you're using multiple combat styles, somewhere like Dagonoth Kings, for example. This next potion might not be one of the more useful ones. It's called the Replenishment Potion, requires 87 herb lore. You do not need to find a recipe to make this one. You can just buy the ability to make it straight off from one of the elf people, and it restores adrenaline by 25% and also restores your lowered stats by 25% plus 8. So it's just an adrenaline potion put together with a super restore potion. I can't really think of that many places when you need to drink both of these at the same time constantly. I mean, you don't use adrenaline potions all that often because you can only drink a dose once every couple of minutes. But, you know, hey, there might be some uses for it that I just can't think of. Feel free to make it if you need the XP and need the effects. This next potion is called the WYRMFIRE potion. What it does is gives you full protection from Dragon Breath, the exact same thing that the Super Anti-Fire does, as well as Wyvern Breath. So you make this with a Super Anti-Fire combined with a regular Anti-Fire, and it requires 89 herb lore to make this. So is this a useful potion? Not really, because if you are maging Skeletal Wyverns and you're doing it correctly, you don't need protection from their breath because they don't use their breath on you anyway. If you really, really want to melee Skeletal Wyverns for whatever reason, then I could see this potion being a must. However, that's not really a necessity for most people, and it does the exact same thing as the Super Anti-Fire versus regular dragons, so don't see how this one is going to be all that useful, although you do get a couple extra free doses out of it because it turns from a 4-dose to a 6-dose potion if you really hate gathering those phoenix feathers. This next potion is actually a category of potions called Extreme Combat. It boosts your combat style by 15% plus 3 levels. What it does is it requires the proper extreme potions and extreme defense 4. And what this is there's 3 different ones. There's the extreme brawlers for melee, extreme battle mages for mage, and extreme sharpshooters for range. And these boost their respective combat styles a little bit more than an extreme potion does, as well as providing you some defense boost. So I wouldn't really recommend making these because it's going to take a lot of time since they're untradeable, of course, and it's mostly just for an extra small defense boost, which you don't need in most situations. If you are somewhere where you're needing defense, I would recommend just to go with overloads. This next category of potions is probably your best bet if you are looking to upgrade your extremes, and I'd recommend these ones over the extreme combat potions. The supreme combat potions boost your combat by 15% plus 4, so a couple levels more than those previous extreme combats would. And what this does is all it requires is the extreme potion and the super potion, and this can be a fairly cost-effective way to create your extreme potions as well, because those super potions are pretty cheap, and again, you're turning a 4-dose potion to a 6-dose potion with the flasks, so it's actually cheaper in the long run than making extreme flasks. Requires 93 herb lore and just a slight upgrade on the extremes. You just mix that extreme attack with a super attack in a crystal flask or whatever type of extreme potion you're looking to make. This next potion is yet another rendition of the mini overloads. The Extreme WARMASTER boosts all your combat styles by 15% plus 3, so about the same as those extreme combat potions does. It requires each of the extreme potions 4-dose as well as a crystal flask and 93 herb lore. So unfortunately these do not renew constantly like overload potions do, so it does not mean that you can use Seren and Bruise with them effectively without some super restores. So again, I mean, it's nice at a place where you're tribe raiding and you're not using Seren Bruise. Somewhere like Dagonoth Kings would be a fairly effective way to use this, and just a slightly cheaper and slightly lower requirements method over making overloads. This next potion up is the BRIGHTFIRE potion, which slowly restores your prayer points and protects you from dragon fires, so it's essentially a prayer renewal and a super anti-fire put together, which is convenient because those are the 2 potions that are required to make this potion. Requires 94 herb lore, so this is somewhere that's nice at a place where you are killing dragons but also need a little bit of prayer points. However, I do have to say there is a future combination potion coming up which also protects you from dragon fire that's probably more useful than this one. one, but if you can think of a good use for a prayer renewal as well as Dragonfire, be my guest. Next up, we have super prayer renewals, which are your prayer potions coupled with your prayer renewals, which sounds intriguing because as you're drinking that prayer renewal dose, you're also getting some prayer points along with it. So you make this with a prayer renewal and a prayer potion combined. Requires 96 herblore, which is a really high requirement, but it does restore 25% plus 70 of your total prayer points and renews some as well over the span of 6 minutes. One redeeming factor of these potions, however, is they are tradable on the GE, so you don't even have to make your own. Next up, we have the anti-QBD potion, also known as the Seren Overload, which boosts your attack, strength, magic defense by 15 plus 3 and protects from Dragonfire, so it is an overload and a super anti-fire put together. This is very useful at QBD for what should be obvious reasons. Saves a bit of inventory space, and it's just convenient. You don't have to focus on maybe your Dragonfire running out and you getting KO'd, because I know that's happened to me a couple times. That will no longer be the case, or at least will have a lower chance of being the case with these Seren Overload potions. Next one up is the Overload Salve, which is a slight upgrade over the Seren Overload potion. It does the same thing, except it also protects from Wyvern Breath, and it also acts as a prayer renewal. So if you're looking as a slight upgrade, or if you also want prayer renewals coupled in with your anti-QBD efforts, this might be a good thing to do. Also protects from poison, although there aren't going to be a whole lot of times when you're fighting dragons or wyverns and additionally need protection from poison, so that's probably not a big deal. I'd recommend just to go with the Seren Overloads, to be honest. The Holy Overload is a potion which is just a overload and a prayer renewal put together. Lots of people use prayer renewals and overloads at the same time, and there are two potions that kind of go hand in hand. So this potion puts that literally into effect and putting them both in one potion, and you drink them both at the same time. Just a convenience item and pretty nice at God War's Dungeon, or really any place where you use both of these potions together, which is most PVM situations for most people, so it just saves a couple inventory spaces. We're finally up to my personal favorite potions out of all the new potions that came out with Elf City Batch 2, and these are the Supreme Overloads. They boost your stats by 16% plus 4, which is effectively 2 levels more than the regular overloads boost them. They're also kind of decent XP to make, and they are also cheaper XP per dose than your typical standard overload if you do take out the large amount of time, admittedly, that it takes to create them. Like with all of your potions here, you're turning 4-dose potions into 6-dose potions. Those overload potion doses are expensive, but here you're creating 2 additional potion doses, just making super potions. It's really nice, gives you a bit of an extra stat boost, and I would highly recommend them. The last potion is called the Perfect Plus potion. This gives the effects of every single perfect Juju potion as well as 3% bonus XP for 4 hours, which is ridiculous because it only requires an overload, which isn't too much to ask, and Harmony Moss, which are fairly cheap, and a Crystal Tree Blossom, which you do need a fairly high level farming to harvest from your Crystal Tree within the Elf City, and you also need 99 herblore to make that. But if you have all those requirements, you're getting effects from all of the perfect Juju potions for 4 hours, and you don't even have to have any perfect Juju potions, which is great. Obviously, it has some very high requirements. You do have to find the recipe within Daemonheim and then unlock it for 1 mil, but this Perfect Plus potion is going to be really nice for skilling. I'm looking forward to unlocking them myself. That's about all for my Elf City potion wrap-up. I think I covered just about everything. If you're looking for any additional information about the potions or some clarification on what potions require recipes and which don't, there will be a link to all of that information down in the description that you can check out. Also, make sure to leave in the comments what you think the most useful potion here will be for you and what you're going to get the most use out of. For me personally, I have to say those Supreme Overloads are really nice. I've been using them a lot lately and really enjoying the fact that they're a part of the game now, although that Perfect Plus potion looks pretty cool as well, so I'll probably get a lot of use out of that one when skilling in the Elf City whenever I unlock the recipe. But I will see you guys tomorrow with the next video. Thank you for watching, and farewell.